Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Questioning a better way, one gracefully disruptive conversation at a time.
Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila. I'm excited to be with you here today. We have an exciting conversation ahead around all things leadership and just general leveling up, I'm going to say. Before we jump in, I want to say a special thank you to our sponsors, Lux Neuro, offering neurofeedback and counseling where your heart and mind align. For more information about what neurofeedback can do for you, listen to the neurofeedback stories of transformation in the middle of this podcast. Neurofeedback effectively treats everything from insomnia, anxiety, depression, trauma, ADHD, and much more. Optimize your brain today. I want to give a special shout out to Declan James Watches. They are local and veteran owned. 10% of all their sales go back to the Navy SEAL Foundation. So go check them out at declanjameswatches.com. And last but not least, our very own Colorado Clownfish Swim School, swim lessons and water safety training for all ages. We believe in life skills through sports. Come waterproof your family today. Go swim. Without further ado, Diana Kokoska. Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila. Was I close?
You did it.
Yes.
It's a crazy name and you said it correctly.
I love it. Well, I should actually love it and know it by heart because the first four letters are K-O-K-O and that's what people call me. So we should have this like brand stamped on my own brain, but we're here now. And I also think I have a very general name. So when I hear original names, well, it's hard for my podcasting brain to wrap my arm around it. You're an original. You're one that stands out.
Well, I appreciate that. And today we're just here to add value to whomever's listening or watching, right?
Absolutely. Yes. And before we jump in, because you have a wealth of intel and information we're going to share, and as you said, a ton of value. And one of my most favorite things is just leading by example. But before we get into the mission and the success, I always like to unpack the human behind all that. So tell us about like young Diana, because I always think who we are as adults was written in the stars as young people. It just takes us some time to figure that out. But give me some intel on your young self.
Well, yeah, we're always preparing for something, right? And sometimes we don't even know what we're preparing for. Now, I started work at age 5 in our family grocery store, right? Back in those days, you could do those types of things. And I was over the magazine rack. And Kristen, it was so fun because my dad taught me that if somebody came in like a gentleman and he looked up and he grabbed a magazine with a car on it, I was to grab every magazine that had a car on it and say, if you like that one, you might want to buy these too, right? So I was taught how to upsell. I called it adding value. And then at 8, when I was doing the cash register and we would see something in the grocery cart, like say ice cream, we would say, oh, I don't see any topping for that ice cream. Do you need topping, cherries, whipped cream, nuts? What can we get for you, right? Once again, adding value to something maybe they had forgotten. So it just made sense to me as I got older and putting my way through college, I decided to sell. And I sold home care products door to door. And once again, always saying, oh, don't just get one bottle because when you run out, you won't be able to grab the second one. So it was always about looking out for the people and helping them. Well, when it came time to get into real estate, which I desired to do, I was up one evening with my son. He was sick. And I was watching TV to kind of help me stay awake. Now, I don't know if any of our listeners have been there or not. Yet I was in a place where I knew I wanted more for my life, yet I just really felt like I couldn't afford it. I felt so stuck, and yet the desire was there. I just didn't know which way to turn. And I was watching PBS auction, and an auction came on for a real estate school. Well, I grabbed my checkbook, Kristen. I found that I could afford $50, and I thought, oh, do I dare bid? Well, it was 2 a.m. I thought nobody's going to bid on this. And I bid and I won.
Wow.
So long story short, got my real estate license. And I realized, oh my goodness, after going to 12 offices for someone to hire me, back in those days, it was a man's world. And I thought, oh my goodness, I found a place to sell real estate. I can't afford a babysitter. What am I going to do? So I put my kids in a little red wagon and started going door to door and just persevering through everything. Sold 104 homes my first year, which Nobody told me you couldn't do that. They said, well, the average agent sold 5. And I go, oh, nobody ever told me that, right? I just went out and talked to people and added value to them. And they referred me to other people. And who would have ever thought that this little lady sitting on the couch that couldn't afford a doggone thing would end up in the CEO suite over a coaching and training company for the largest real estate company in the world, Keller Williams Realty International. And so if I can do it, I just want everyone to hear, you can too. I don't care where you're at in your world. There is such an abundant world, and it's just waiting for your greatness to show up.
Absolutely. It's, it's never the position you're in, it's the direction you're going. And I want to talk more about your professional pursuits, but I think the big piece of intel and takeaway here is that mindset and your reaction to what you were given and how you took positive steps to solve problems versus shut down and go numb out, or a host of other things that, we can go do. Because being an entrepreneur or solving problems in general is really, really hard, especially in today's world. Before we jump in, I do want to read your bio just so people can understand the wealth of success that you've had. And thank you for sharing that beginning story, so you can see, where you landed and then where you started. And it says, Diana is an entrepreneur, keynote speaker, best-selling author, investor, and mentor, a 4-time entrepreneur of the year, and a 3-time businesswoman of the year. She's also recognized among the top 25 U.S. business coaches as CEO of Keller Williams MAPS Coaching. She grew revenue to $500 million, leading the company to #1 training company 5 consecutive years, and training in the Training Hall of Fame. She's traveled the world and with John Maxwell incorporating values training in training in schools. So she's got a new book also that's coming out that we're going to talk about, but that just kind of covers, I know, many, many years of success. I'm really curious on that beginning when things still really started to track and things started to make sense. And it sounds like you didn't have that limiting mindset, or you told those things early on. So possibilities were everywhere. What do you think was the key detail or key piece, perhaps within you, nature or nurture, that was like, okay, well, I've been told this, but I'm going to solve it this way. You pivoted in a positive direction. How did you do that?
It's interesting because my brother had a brain tumor, and back in the day, they didn't have all of the physical therapy and all of the things that they do now. And when they sent him home, he really couldn't talk, he couldn't walk, and he had to learn that all over again. And so we had a tape recorder, Kristen, and I would say a word, he would say a word, I'd play the recording back. And I realized then that if you're not willing to make mistakes, if you're not willing to go through all of the crap, so to speak, you're never going to get to the greatness. And so I think the biggest thing that I did was I was willing to fail. I failed quickly. I learned as much as I could from it. And it's a model that I use even today that I learned from watching my brother learn how to talk again. It was, we learn, we implement, we fail, we learn a new way, we implement that, we fail. And it's just a cycle that just keeps going round and round and round. The problem is a lot of people stop when it doesn't work. They don't go, what's another way I could approach this? And that mindset of I'm going to do it no matter what, just perseverance, that grit has to kick in.
Amen. I cannot agree more. And I've had this conversation because I've done a good chunk of coaching. And there's a difference between, the $50,000 to $100,000 a year employee and then like the 200 plus. The 50 to 100 can do what they're told, follow a line of order, get it done. Everyone plus that can solve problems and figure it out themselves and stay in it when it really, really gets hard. And I like to be transparent with my young people early on of saying, if you can't handle the failure and the other things that go along with great success, then, that middle lane is probably where you need to be. And there's nothing wrong with that, because you might have different core values in your life and care more about your family or something than financial success. But there is a clear differentiator. When you're coaching, how much of your approach is about mindset?
A lot of it. And it's mainly through questions. I truly believe that every single person I ever coached was creative, resourceful, and whole. They had the answers in front of them. And coaching to their business and the person themselves, because it's all intertwined, I became a partner in their business. And with that, I was always looking out for them and drawing that out of them, that greatness, because everybody has a gift. Everybody has a talent. It's just most people haven't opened up the gift, right? And they let these winds, these things that we're all going to go through. I mean, every one of us are going to go through some bad times in our life. If you haven't yet, you're about ready to go through it, right? And it's that wind. We can be a candle that the wind just blows out instantly and we give up, or we can be almost like a raging fire, like a forest fire in California, for heaven's sakes. That wind actually gives it more fuel. So are you going to let the things that get in your way and have a fixed mindset that, oh, I just wasn't made for this, I guess I've got to give up, like the candle that's just blown out with just a, right? Anybody can do that. Or are you going to have your mindset of growth, of there's got to be another way, and you let that wind just fuel the fire inside of you, and that fire inside of you, well, it lights up and it just makes you keep going.
There you go. It's all about how you take whatever is coming at you have, and then how you handle that and that next step moving forward. And I love, because as you know, coaches and of our generation, it's a lot of like, do because I said so, this and that. And as time has progressed on, my background is entirely athletic, with some business mixed in, but that narrative had shifted, and it's really become about the human and this whole human approach. Just like nutrition, it's not just fitness, it's what you're eating and like the energy around you. At what point in your career, or was this always within you, to really care about the human, in addition to all these measurables and, you know, financial goals and everything else, but really actually caring about the individual you're working with?
Well, you know, I was born with great parents. I mean, I hit the lottery on that one. They were constantly telling us to add value to people, to love people, no matter who they were, where they were at, do something to serve them, help them to get better, and multiply whatever talent was given to us, right? And they gave us some decision points, Kristen, some things to really think about. The decision to be bold, to be willing to to get out there and not worry about what people thought of us, right? Because chances are they weren't thinking of us at all. They were thinking of themselves. The second one is to make certain that we take care of our health. We've got to make that decision early on to be healthy, to nurture relationships, because relationships help us keep going, and to plan. To actually, I call it the bookends. You plan up front, you do whatever you want to do, and then you reflect on the back end to make it actually better, and to make certain to make the decision to laugh. We got to laugh more, I think. People take life way too serious, and to cut our losses. You know, if we're in a position where things aren't going good, well, cut the losses and figure out a new way. The decision to teach others what we're taught. And some people make the decision to do nothing. Well, that's a decision. And each decision, in fact, the other day I was talking to my husband and I said, you know, we come into this world looking innocent, and we go out of this world looking like our decisions. Every decision we make is going to absolutely mold us into something else. And then, of course, the final decision is to give back, leave a legacy that's worth leaving.
I love that. And I think we don't talk about this enough in leadership, that power of choice. And it's not only the freedom that comes with that, but the actual power and empowerment and personal accountability, personal responsibility. Tell me a little bit, expand on that with your learnings and your coaching of empowering the individual to really take control and visualize their destiny, take control of it, and make continuous steps towards that goal.
Well, you know, if we're not empowering people, we're actually holding them back, right? And a lot of people, they want to keep that power for themselves. And they think, oh man, I've got the power. And it's like our fist. Well, a fist that's like this can't receive anything. So if you think you've got the power, think again, because power is something, it's energy. It comes and it goes, right? Yet the hand that's open to give is open to receive. And that's how you get more power. You empower other people. And sometimes it's teaching, sometimes it's mentoring, sometimes it's coaching, sometimes it's consulting. Yet I find a lot of people, they're very stuck in their thoughts. And that's what's holding most people back. In fact, I think we are held hostage to our thoughts. It's like being in a cage. The thoughts are the bars of the cage, and inside the cage is our comfort zone. And everything we absolutely want in life and desire in life is outside our comfort zone. In fact, my mentor, John Maxwell, says we have uphill goals with downhill habits. And it's so true. We want things to be easy. We want them to be fast. Most of the time, we want them to be excellent. Well, those three don't go together. Fast, easy, and excellent. You can have two of the three if you're lucky. Fast and easy doesn't give us excellence. Fast and excellent generally don't go together. And quite frankly, I don't know that easy and excellent go together. It's an uphill battle. Every goal we have a toll booth. And the question is, are you willing to pay the price for the goal that you've set? Because that toll booth, it may come up right away. It may come up a year from now, yet you will pass through it. The question is, will it stop you or will you keep going?
There you go. And so let's lean into that a little bit, because I think we, in an instantaneous society, particularly for our young humans, we're quick to seek instant gratification because that's what we're used to. That's what we're nurtured towards. Everything's through this phone. We can find answers, quicker than you and I did growing up, and it's all on social media. How do you, or what's a good skill set to disrupt that negative mindset or those thoughts? Like, do you have a quick, easy tool that disrupts the thoughts? We can reset our mind and be conscious and within our own awareness to keep our mind on track?
Well, what's so fun? When I used to have a negative thought, I would wear this rubber band around my wrist and I would like snap it every time. And I found that I was having big welts on my wrist, right? I didn't realize that it came to a point where I realized the more we complain, the more we find to complain about. And yet the more we find to have gratitude around, the more things we have to be grateful for. It's kind of what we focus on expands. And so every time I have a negative thought, because you cannot control every thought that comes into your mind, I instantly replace it with a positive thought. And you have to actually do that. You have to identify the thoughts. You have to challenge those thoughts. You have to reframe the thoughts, take action around your thoughts, and then overcome setbacks through the thoughts that you've had over and over again.
And I think part of that is being comfortable, being uncomfortable. And this is why I love and appreciate my athletic experience, because you just get used to that. You fall down, you get up. The coach tells you did this wrong. You work to do it better. And you're very comfortable with this failure and breakthrough process. And it does, the success never comes quick or easy. I do believe when your energy is in alignment and you have things, dialed in mentally and physically, like the right thing can come through very quick, but it's different than being okay with doing the work and being uncomfortable. Can you tell us about tools to get uncomfortable, stay uncomfortable, deal with that, and then move forward?
Sometimes it's as easy as just taking a different way to work. I mean, people are uncomfortable when they get outside that comfort zone. It could be just having a new routine that you have every single morning. I don't know what your routine is, yet start small with just little things of being uncomfortable, and then go out and do big things, whether it be jump out of an airplane or one person, I helped them take their first airplane ride. They were scared to death to get in an airplane and go up in the sky. And what they went through while they were on the airplane at first, eventually by the end of it, they were doing just fine. So it's like allowing us to feel the fear and do it anyway, right? Because that fearful attitude, we've got to get through that self-doubt. That's an energy. I mean, it's interesting because the energy that we put out to people, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred or transformed. The question is, what kind of energy are you transferring to other people? And if it's fearful energy, they pick up on it right away. I mean, why do dogs bite people? A lot of times it's because we're putting out fearful energy, right? And they don't know how to handle that. So the only way they know how to do it is to bite you. Yet life kind of bites us when we're in that fearful energy, because we start attracting all this negativity to us. Like energy attracts like energy. And we're playing this match game all day long of our life. We say something out there and then it just shows up like a match, like, oh, I can't see what I want to see. I can't achieve my goals. And we start telling ourselves that. And that becomes comfortable for us making excuses for ourselves. So sometimes just saying, I'm not going to make an excuse, gets us outside of our comfort zone.
I love that. You hit on so many points right there. Number one, the dog's always right. I have 3 dogs, so I'm a dog person. So it is. Animals are highly intuitive, and so are babies. So if there is a reaction from either of those two that is offsetting or sending something, lean into that intel because it's true. And I am someone that's very into energy and woo and spirit and all these things. And for all my humans that aren't, like you also so gracefully pointed out, energy can't be created or destroyed. It's physics. So it's science also. You feel it, it's created, and it's here. So it checks all the boxes. And I would love to unpack that further because my understanding of energy and how you facilitate or just reading people or, you're attracted to like what you like or what's similar didn't come probably until like my 20s, 30s, and now 40s. Tell me when you started to really involve and lean into this conversation around energy, because I still think it's kind of new, especially in corporate leadership, that it's a little bit touchy to lean into. You got to say it really right.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of people say, ooh, that's woo-woo, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was so fortunate. I took physics and math in college, and I got to actually work in the physics lab.
Okay.
And, you have these high-powered microscopes, and I never actually got to see this, yet they would talk about these microscopes back in New York and California and places, and they would put things under the microscope. Kristen, it showed that 99.99999% was energy of whatever they put under the microscope, and 0.00001% was particle, which means even we're more nothing than anything, right? It's made up of energy. Everything is energy. So I'm so glad you brought this up because it's one of my favorite subjects. I believe there's 4 energies of success. There's the energy of confidence, which is the success that there's just something about confident people. They just draw you in. And then there's the energy of purpose. And a lot of people say, oh, I don't know what my purpose is. Well, start serving, start doing things, and you'll figure it out. It comes pretty quickly when you do that. Sitting around worrying about it, you'll never figure it out. Just start doing things. It'll come to you. The third one is gratitude. The energy of gratitude is so strong. And then the energy of being in the present moment, because you can't change the past. You can learn from it. You just can't change it. And going into the future, well, we want to look in the future, but we can't change the future either. We can make the future. We can help create the future. And it's all done through our energy in the present moment, because awareness only happens in the present moment. And awareness is the first step to change. So I think those 4 energies are so important. And then we get into the net forward energy ratio that we live our life by. And that's if like 50% of your team is saying no and 50% are saying yes, you're not going to go anywhere. A plane taking off, it takes a lot more thrust than drag. But we do that in our own mind. See, we think that we want to go somewhere, and we have all this positive energy and positive thought going towards it. And we start dreaming about it, and it's so good and it's so vivid. And then all of a sudden, all those negative thoughts come at us. That's the drag against our life. And if that positive is not going at least 60% forward, we're not going anywhere. Those dreams are going to lie dormant, and you're going to be standing in a sea of dreams that never come about. Yet once we get that energy of positive momentum of, I think I can, like that little engine that could, I think I can, and we start making small steps, it's not going to come overnight. We have to crock pot our success. We don't have instant success, right? It's like a hockey stick. You go, and then you take off. That's the same thing, but you got to put the energy behind it to get it going. Most people have limiting energy. They have fearful, they're worried, they're nervous, they're depressed, they're dissatisfied, they're anxious, they're stressed, they're complaining all the time about something, they're irritated, and they've got this self-doubt about themselves. They don't think that they're worthy. And we got to change all of that to a liberating energy of joyful, grateful, confident, passionate approval. being intentional, taking responsibility, being optimistic, being resilient. Those are the kind of things that are going to get us forward. And if we don't have the belief in ourselves, then borrow the belief from somebody else. Heck, borrow my belief. I believe everybody has inside of them what it takes. So borrow my belief until you can grab hold of your own, because it's in there. And it starts with the energy of gratitude. And in fact, you can tell I'm excited about all this, Kristen.
Let's go.
Dr. Amen, Daniel Amen, is fabulous. Read a lot of his books, and you'll find out about how our brain works. Well, one of these reports that he did in Change Your Brain, Change Your Life, he talks about a research study where they took 30 people and they had them write for 5 minutes things that they were grateful for. And then they waited 30 minutes and they did brain scans on them. Oh my goodness, Kristen, the whole brain lit up. The cerebellum was the intuition, the creative part of your brain, the logical part, the emotional part, the area that takes in knowledge and learns, all lit up. Yeah. Then they took the same people and they said, think about, what if you lost your job? What if somebody hacked all the money out of your bank account? What if somebody stole your identity? What if you were diagnosed with a terrible disease? What if? And then they did brain scans. Nothing was lit up other than stress, anxiety, and depression areas of the brain. Those emotions were alive and well. And that taught me instantly that I've got to stay in gratitude no matter what. I don't want to be grateful for all things. I'm not grateful for all things. I am grateful in all things, because when I can keep my mind on gratitude, then that's at least 80% of the battle.
Absolutely. Woo, we got a lot to unpack there. One small goal of TNT is always, how do we pull the string of the guest, the passion point? And I think we pulled it. So I always take a gold star there, because I like to hear what really lights up our humans, especially our humans that check a lot of boxes. So I love this. And I love that you're in leadership and you're leaning into energy, and it runs the gamut from woo to science. And the point is, it doesn't really matter, because if you just start paying attention, you see and feel the energy, and you can pay attention to your own. I think the brain scans, we do a ton of brain health in my own personal and professional world and talk about it on TNT, hence our title sponsor, Lux Neurofeedback and Counseling. It starts with the brain. When you can see that scientific reaction, the measurables of how you can control how you feel is wild. And that sense of power and empowerment should be massive, because you really can choose your destiny. I know we've been beat to death with The Secret and all these things, but the fact is that it's true. So I love that you point out these science measurables for all my semi-believers are wondering, how do I get unstuck or make the next step? It really does start with choice in whatever you can do, and then make a list of gratitude. Do something really small, really simple to shift that mindset, even just one step in the right direction. It doesn't have to be a grandiose gesture. It can just be a small thing. And then everything physically and chemically starts to change. And I know your son could attest to this. If you keep all that negative narrative and whatnot, it'll show up in other places of the body. Liver is associated with anger and a ton of other stuff, where you got to move this negative energy and thought process, because not only impacts your personal and professional destiny, impacts your health. So this is really, really important stuff. I'm curious.
I love what you're saying. Let's just stay there for a minute, because you're so knowledgeable about all of this. And I love, it does affect our health.
Yes.
All of these things. In my book, I say that our life is lived between B and D, birth and death. And between B and D is C, and that is choice. Everything in our life is about choice. And in the book, Becoming More, it talks about how these thoughts seep into our cells. Every thought gives a chemical, and every chemical feeds our body. And what you just said about the liver and anger and all the things that are happening in our world, they said that 78% is the amount. There's 78% more young people being diagnosed with cancer than there were 2 years ago. It's up 78%. I'm going, well, yeah, we got to start teaching them how to think.
Yep. And get off this. The cell phone is, and I'm in and branding. So we're here to push it in the right way. But the juxtaposition is that it's with moderation and or use it as a tool, or honestly, my young people get off of it completely. I'm a massive advocate for finding a different way. And I want to lean into that. It's a perfect segue. But before we get into the book, because we'll lean into the science here and how it shows up, I want to know for you as your personal journey, at any point in time, did you notice when that negative thoughts are coming over, it impacted your health? Because I have several stories where it actually facilitated my journey in learning this, being stressed out in my liver. I was doing this human optimization blood work thing for a client, and it was serendipitously in my world. I'm like, oh shit, I have this issue I didn't even know. And wasn't my body, it was my lifestyle and anger and situations I was in. Did you have a personal experience of this where like the light bulb went off?
I think it's so good to talk about these because people that are listening are probably having them as well. I had a sudden betrayal that was, it was very devastating. Don't need to go into it. We all have different things in our lives. And as much as, I know about the brain, I know how it works. And yet I still found myself being very, very negative. Some other things were happening and it was just like one pile of crap. I have this thing, I have plants. And you know what? When I want a plant to grow, I water it and fertilize it. And we all know what fertilizer is, right? Well, I was being fertilized like crazy. Crap was just being poured on me like you can't believe. And I found myself really going through some challenges and changing those negative thoughts, yet not changing them fast enough. And all of a sudden, I was doing my own self-examination and I found a lump, right? So I called the doctor and of course they sent me in. And after many, many different things, mammograms and ultrasounds and all sorts of things, they said, well, we've got to go in and do a biopsy. And I didn't tell my husband or anybody about it. It was interesting when I went to the doctor that day and they had taken a lot of x-rays and he said, oh, let me show you the x-rays. I go, look, I'm getting ready to go out of town. Just tell me what it is. Do I have cancer or not? Because it's either yes or no. And I'm assuming it is yes because you called me in here. Otherwise, you'd have told me on the phone. And he said, yes, you have cancer. And I go, no, that's your diagnosis. I'm not going to claim that on my life. And at that point, his assistant had run out and brought in a box of Kleenexes. And I said, unless those Kleenexes are for you, get them out of here. Because I don't need those. Just what are we going to do about this? And he said, well, you need to get in for surgery and you need to see the surgeon, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, my husband's having surgery. I got to get that over with first. So I didn't tell anybody, Kristen. And that was when it was really challenging for me because I'd wake up in the middle of the night with, oh my gosh, what's going to happen, right? Is it really bad? I don't want to take care of it now because my husband's going in for his surgery and I want to make certain all of that goes well and he doesn't need anything more to worry about. And my son, his wife had passed away of cancer. And I thought, how am I going to tell him? That was the hardest thing to do. And so we went through the surgery with my husband. Meantime, I was doing affirmations like crazy. I am healthy. I am well. Nothing beats me. I can overcome all things. It was just positive constantly. Every time I ate, I would say affirmations. What I think about myself is what I will become. So I think the very best of myself. What I think about myself is what my health will become. So I think the very best of my health. And anyway, I ended up going in for surgery and doing all of that. Yet here's what I want the people to hear. We all go through things. Mm-hmm. And it's challenging and it's hard and you feel like you're the only one. And you got this storyteller in your head. You got 4 of them. And one of them is a devious storyteller. It wants to tell you all of the crap about your life. It wants to tell you, you should have done this. You should have done that. You have to do this. Why didn't you do this? You're nothing but a failure. You can't do it. You're not good enough. Your health is bad. What if you die? All these things it wants to tell you. Then there's the flattering storyteller that's just as bad because it wants to tell you how great you are and how you don't need anybody and how you can face this thing alone, right? You're just strong enough. You can be the hero of your own life. And then there's the reasonable storyteller that scares me to death. It's the one that gives you reasons and excuses for everything you do in your life. But the 4th one is the empowering storyteller. And when something hits you really hard health-wise, or even in your own life, whatever you're going through, you got to grab hold of that empowering storyteller. And sometimes you have to be the storyteller. Write it down on a piece of paper and read it daily if you need to. Do something to start training that brain of yours to be in a positive way instead of a negative way.
I love that. You really demonstrate what I think is important that you pull through this is that we have choices throughout life. We can control our own destiny, and stuff happens and you will get off track. Even if you're in the business, you know this well, you do this well. And I think the key piece of that is grace. And you have to continuously give yourself grace in time. And I often on TNT and just in life, I'll say that's a varsity human or that's a varsity move, meaning you know what to do. It's not a better or worse than. It's that we all have like these junior varsity, these JV moments, and you never maintain that varsity status forever all the time. Like you can dip and then elevate, instantaneously. But the difference is that awareness. And with that awareness is the grace to know that you're going to continue to fail. And that's going to be a thing. And hopefully you are, because that means you're alive. And it's just that grace piece. So even if you're in the business and you're good, I think it's wonderful people to hear your journey personally, noting that you do this on the daily all the time and you're very successful at it. And you still had the ability to slip out of it and then slip back in.
Yeah, nobody's perfect. And if you think you're going to be, well, you're just fooling yourself. You're going to fail along the way, and you're not going to do everything correct, right?
Right. Well, in our mission-driven varsity humans, etc., I think we're failing often because we're pushing the line. We're doing stuff that haven't been done. We're, challenging status quo. We're pushing the narrative. We're doing things that, are brand new to this world, and the landscape of this world is constantly changing. So failure is inevitable. And if you're not failing, you're dead. You got to be living it out there and failing forward. So give us some specifics about the book, Becoming More. You can't get better until you get to different.
Well, a lot of people say it's like a workbook.
Okay.
It's working on yourself. And people that think the environment has more to do with their life than the internal world that they live in, they'd better think again. Because if you think the environment is more important, you're always going to be dissatisfied. You're always going to be behind the 8 ball, so to speak. That internal world, we got to work harder on ourselves than we do on our job. Mm-hmm. And you either grow within or you go without, right? And this book gives 17 different models to kind of, and I know that sounds like a lot. Don't let the number fool you. It's where it allows you to see things so quickly because of the way the model is written out. It gives you a model from going to who you are being today, the current story of your life, to a new story, to leave a legacy that you desire, and to obtain the things in life that you desire, whatever you're going through. And it's a model patterned after John Wooden's success model, right? The pyramid of success. And this pyramid shows you how your brain goes from the thoughts that you have, having them over and over again, to form the beliefs that you live your life by, and the values. And those 3 thoughts, beliefs, and values enter in with your emotions. And you have this body and mind experience going all the time. You think insecure thoughts. Well, guess what? You feel insecure. When you feel insecure, you keep having more insecure thoughts, and you go round and round and round until you break that cycle. Well, all of those make up your mindset. And Kristen, when I started looking at mindsets, now Carol Dweck did a fabulous job of fixed versus growth. She did an entire book on it. Yet I found there were over 150 mindsets in different books that were mentioned. And I took great people that I knew, great business people, right? And I started looking at them, and as well as people that had passed away, and said, what mindsets did they demonstrate? And I narrowed it down to 7 that I think that limit us and 7 that liberate us. Okay. They all make up our perspective, which then tells us the words to use, the character that we become, the goals that we set. We got to have personal development. It gives you a personal development plan, talks about the 4 energies of success. And going through these chapters enable you to create a new story, the new story that you desire to live by. Because too many people, they gave the pen to somebody else to write their life story. They're not the main character. They're playing a stand-in their own life. It's your story. Pick up the pen and start writing it, for heaven's sakes. You're the creator. You're the crusader. You need to be the champion of your own story as well. And just start taking control. And this book will help you do that.
That's awesome. It's so necessary, especially as we enter into 2025, and that's when this conversation will air. It's now more than ever, personally, professionally, politically, athletically, it's really about taking personal responsibility and taking the reins back and being responsible for your own destiny alongside grace and gratitude at the forefront of every step that you take. I'm curious. I think one of the biggest things that turned me on in life is when I really realized how finite our time is here, and make all the money in the world, do whatever you want, whatever measures success to you. But we're really working with a finite amount of time. So it's not just, what the end game is, it's how are you spending every single day of the journey and who are you with? And I really experienced athletically when you get there, you win the championship, and then you're like, oh, now what? You're like, well, shoot, I kind of just want to go back to practice and do my daily thing that was just do what we were doing to get here. And it was a big awakening of like, well, shit, I love the award, but man, it was about the journey. Did you have moments like that, or did that help inspire this book personally?
You're so good. You're such a great host. And I've got to tell you, I think that we all go after that success, and then there comes a point in our life where success just doesn't do it anymore. And we move from success to significance, where we want to give back to other people and pour into other people, just like you're doing with your podcast, and helping them to become as successful as they can. And hopefully they'll go through that. See, I believe it's who we're being. Then it tells us what we can do, and what we're doing implies what we can have, and what we have implies what we can give. And most people have that all screwed up. They think, oh, if I had what my neighbor had, I could do what they do, and then I could be like them. And I'm going, no. And some people think like a villain, like, oh, you just got to do, work hard. And after you do it over and over again, well, all you end up with is a bunch of do, right? It's not do, have, be. It's you got to be it and think like them in order to do what they do, in order to have what they have, and eventually give what they give. So I want to ask people out there, who are you spending your time with? Because the 5 closest friends that you have is who you're going to be like. The 5 people you spend the most time with, you show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
I love that so much. And I have 3 dogs that I spend the most time. So I'm 2 humans and 3 dogs.
I love it. I'll bet you are very kind, very intuitive, and I bet you really care about people.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I hope so. We don't know each other well, so I received that, and I can tell you're a wealth of information and intuitive yourself. So I received. And yes, I always say all my dogs are special. My first one, Cleo, I call her Cleonce. She's a Cleopatra. I always say she's the woman I want to be, because she's good at boundaries. She loves hard, and she sets the tone, and she's all those things. So yes, yeah, it's a big piece of the journey, but that's huge. And it's about who you're around all the time, because I also think leaders think that they're not permeable to influence or inspiration. They think that they can control that, and you really can't. And I actually think it's more important for our leaders to be conscious of who they're around. Is that in your coaching at all? I'm assuming that it is.
Yeah. You know what's interesting in some of the studies, and this study did not make it into my book, yet they say that the people you hang out with, it's not just them, it's the ripple effect. Who are their friends? Because their friends are influencing them, and they are influencing you. So it can go back 3 ripples backwards. And I'm going, oh my word, I never thought about that. And I work diligently to be around as many very successful and influential people. And it's not about the money. I love that you said that. Not about the money, because money is good for the good it can do. It's just the fact that the money just comes. It's an energy. I mean, otherwise it couldn't be plastic. It couldn't go from bank to bank in the air. It couldn't be a piece of paper. I mean, what is money other than energy? And so if we talk bad about it all the time and complain about not having it, why would we ever have it, right? If energy attracts like energy, I mean, that just makes no sense to me at all. If you have somebody and you are constantly complaining about them and telling them what's wrong with them, they don't want to be around you. So if you're complaining about money, stop it. Start looking at money as an energy and speak good of it and give gratitude for what you do have. And you'll be surprised. I tell you, you'll be surprised how much more will come into your life.
I love it. Choice, belief, all the things. We could ask so many more questions because I know we're in alignment on a lot of things. But I want to ask my favorite question I ask every guest at the end of the show. What is success to you?
Success to me is living a life that leaves something behind, not just money for your children or grandchildren. It leaves characteristics and values, a deposit in somebody that you made a difference. In fact, in the book, I say, write your eulogy. And as creepy as that sounds, I wrote it out, what I wanted people to say about me when my time on this earth comes to an end. And I narrowed it down. And what it came to is she was somebody that wanted to add value every day and make a difference in people's world. And now every day I get up, 7 a.m., my phone goes off and it says, what will you do to add value to others? And at 7 p.m. it goes off and it says, what did you do to add value to others? To me, that's success. If every day I can say I accomplished that goal, then I'm successful. And the rest is just come my way. I never set out to make millions of dollars or have a net worth millions of dollars. I did always want to give $1 million away. That has been on my goal and very close to it. Yet it just live a great life and you'll be surprised what treasures come your way.
I love that. I love all of it. And that open-mindedness, particularly in 2025, like the world is expanding. As a young human, as I asked earlier, if you want to know your purpose, go look at what you're doing as a kid. It might not make sense, but I was recording earlier and doing just like weird 9-10-year-old things. And I didn't know what I was going to do in podcasting. A lot of stuff we do now wasn't a thing yet. So if you're young and you're home or you're out there, you're thinking about something or you dreaming of something that isn't a thing yet, be open-minded and open-hearted to it because it can become a thing 5-10 years from now, maybe 10 minutes from now. Like the world's moving fast. So I really applaud that mindset of seeing what comes in, remain open because a lot's changing fast. And we need our doers, our believers, our thinkers in these new years.
Let's look at Steve Jobs just very quickly.
Yeah.
When he started talking about this thing that you could hold in your hand, first of all, the computer they had, the Next, it was awful. Yet it was the right vision, but the wrong time.
Yeah.
And yet it put forward for the Palm Pilot, which brought the iPhone, which almost everybody in the world now has something that they hold in their hand that tells them everything about their life, right?
Yeah. And that thing also tells everybody else everything about our lives, which is a whole other podcast. But we'll save that marketing and branding and data monetization for a different day. Hit us with links, handles, website. Where can we find the book? Where can we find you? Hit us with the details.
Well, Dynamic Growth Collective is the name of my company. Diana.Kokoska on Facebook, Diana Kokoska on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. Let's connect. Becoming More book. You can go there and get an assessment to see how much of your mindset is limiting and how much is liberating. It's free. And it will actually even give you steps that you can take to go from limiting mindset to a liberating one. So I really trust that you'll do that for yourself.
Let's go. Lean into the positive energy. Wherever you are sitting right now, you can make a positive change in the right direction. Every single person has a purpose and a choice. So let's go. Diana, I love the time and energy that we have shared. I cannot wait to see what you do next. And I don't know if we touched on this in the beginning or not, but she's from, or at least lived in Colorado. So we have Colorado energy in the air. But go check her out. Like I said, love the energy and what she has going on. I think there are big things to come. And I love that she is on the mic. So go check out her podcast. What's your podcast called?
Becoming More. It's right after the book. You can get the book on Amazon. Becoming More, work through it. Change your life.
Consistent branding and energy. I'm here for it. I want to give a special thank you to our sponsor, Lux Neuro, Neurofeedback and Counseling. Lux Neuro wants to meet you. If you're ready to transform your life, visit them at luxneuro.com and schedule a consultation. Colorado Clownfish Swim School, swim lessons and water safety training for all ages. They believe in life skills through sports. Come waterproof your family today. Go check them out. Diana, you're awesome. I can't wait till we connect again. I know we'll cross paths again. If you listen to podcasts, check us out wherever you get your podcasts. And this video will also be on YouTube. And we will see you next week. Have a great day. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Kristen. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
thank you for joining Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Tune in next time, and don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.